Welcome back, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm really glad you found your way to this episode. Let me start with a question. Have you ever had a moment where you looked at someone else's life and quietly thought to yourself, why am I not there yet? Or maybe the thought sounds a little different. Everyone else seems to have it figured out. I should be further along. What's wrong with me? If you've ever had a thought like that, you're not alone. In fact, psychologists have found that humans naturally compare themselves to others as a way of understanding where they fit in socially. It's something called social comparison theory, first introduced by psychologist Leon Festinger. But here's the problem. In today's world, we're no longer comparing ourselves to just the few people around us. We're comparing ourselves to thousands of curated lives online, highlight reels, and filtered successes. And when you measure your entire life against someone else's best moment, something heavy starts to build. Pressure, doubt, and sometimes something deeper. Shame. This is episode 5, and today we're talking about letting go of shame, pressure, and comparison. The purpose of this episode is simple but important. By the time we finish this conversation, I want you to understand where these feelings come from, why they can feel so powerful, and most importantly, how you can begin loosening their grip on your life. You won't need to become someone new. You'll just begin remembering that your worth was never supposed to be measured in the first place. So let's talk about it. One of the most damaging beliefs people carry is the idea that life has a universal timeline. Graduate by this age. Have your career figured out by that age. Find love by this age. Achieve success by another. But if you pause and really think about it, who decided that timeline? Was it truly yours? Or was it something absorbed slowly over time from culture, family expectations, social media, or comparison with peers? A lot of the pressure people feel isn't coming from their authentic desires. It's coming from expectations they never consciously chose. And when you try to live up to someone else's expectations long enough, it eventually creates tension inside you. Because part of you knows you're chasing something that may not actually belong to you. This is something researcher Brené Brown talks about often in her work on shame. She explains that shame thrives in silence and comparison. It convinces us that if we're struggling, we must be the only ones. But the truth is, nearly everyone carries some version of this internal pressure. The difference is that most people are hiding it. They're presenting the polished version of their lives, the parts that look like progress, confidence, certainty. But underneath that surface, many are quietly questioning themselves too. That realization alone can soften comparison, because it reminds you that you're not actually behind. You're just human. Let me ask you something. If you removed the idea that your life was supposed to look a certain way by now, what pressure would disappear? What expectations would suddenly feel optional? That question can be uncomfortable, but it's powerful. Because once you start examining the expectations you've been carrying, you begin realizing that many of them aren't required at all. They're inherited. And inherited expectations often create inherited shame. Another thinker who speaks about this clearly is Mark Manson, who writes about how much of our stress comes from trying to pursue values that aren't actually ours. If your goal is based on impressing people, proving something, or avoiding judgment, the process will always feel exhausting because you're not pursuing something meaningful. You're pursuing approval. And approval is one of the most unstable currencies in the world. You can never fully control it. There will always be someone who approves of you and someone who doesn't, which means if your sense of worth depends on external approval, it will always feel fragile. But something interesting happens when you stop organizing your life around proving your worth. Your energy shifts. Instead of constantly asking, "How do I measure up?" you begin asking a different question. What actually matters to me? That question is quieter, but it's also more honest. Now, before we continue, I want to pause for a moment. If conversations like this help you slow down, reflect, and reconnect with yourself, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel so you can join us for more episodes like this. And if something in this episode resonates with you, leave a comment with a word that describes how you're feeling right now. Maybe it's relief, thinking, learning, or even hope.